Hello ladies and gents, this is another video brought to you by Ants Hood. And today's video is about my Acromymex octospinosus, or my leafcutter ants, getting yet another extension. And a big thank you to Ants Davey, who gifted me these ants many moons ago. I'll put a link to his website down below. And before I go any further, I have to point out I have got a stinking cold, my nose is blocked, and that's why I sound really weird on this video. But let's just go on to how they're looking at the moment and what I'm planning to do with them. So if we take a look at the setup now, I've got the nice big outworld there, which is what I use to feed them with and stuff like that. Then I've got two fungus pods here and here, and at the back is their trash pod. Now after my last video, somebody recommended, because I spent ages cleaning it out, to take the lid off that trash pod so the trash dries out. But what I found was that they stopped using it for trash and they started moving all of the trash into the outworld, as you can clearly see by this massive pile here. And I believe that is because they want or need or like a certain amount of humidity in the trash area. And as you can see by the outworld, with the amount of condensation on it, this has got a lot of condensation and a lot of humidity. So I think they've been moving their rubbish into there. So my plan is to put the lid back on so they stop dumping the rubbish in the outworld, because frankly it's really frustrating. Now, as you can see from this time lapse, the first thing I had to do was disconnect the outworld and clean it out, because it was absolutely disgusting. Previously, this is the second time I've done this recently, the fungus turnaround rate is really high and they're building up a lot of rubbish. Also, they keep trying to move fungus into this outworld as well, which is why I've bought another pod, because I found that any opportunity they get, they try and move the fungus into it or something else. I could put a flat power pot in there and then it dug into the plant plot and put fungus in there. So I needed a new pod, but I had to clean this out first. So once I'd done the outworld, I needed to move on to the pod. Now the pod I've had for about 3 weeks. I originally wanted it because they'd moved a fungus or built a fungus in the outworld, which you would have seen by one of my shorts posted a little while ago. And it was quite a big one, so I needed a new fungus pod, hence this. But because Wakooshi didn't have any made and he was waiting for parts, it took quite a while to get here. And in that meantime, the fungus died. So I humidified it and then let it be to get to room temperature. As you can see here, there is excessive moisture on there, condensation. As you guys well know, if the fungus comes in contact with direct water like this, it will kill it. So I needed to dry it all off and make sure that it was fine and aerated it. But this is what I mean. Any opportunity they get, they've been trying to expand the fungus. So I think even though I haven't got fungus for this right now, I can put this on. Now, as you can see from this photo, it's actually sat on one of my desks. But what I want to do is move the fungus pods onto the shelf, which I've done here, and have that tubing going up to my desk and connect the outworld there. I think it would look pretty cool if I do that. Now, as these are the Wakooshi pods, I've also got the Wakooshi pod connector tubey things you can see here. The only gripe I've got with these, they don't do right angles and stuff. They're at like an acute angle like this, which is cool if you've got a couple of pods. But when you want to extend loads of pods like I do, you kind of start forming a circle, which can be a bit of a pain in the bum. And it kind of doesn't help my freaking OCD as well. So I need to go back to my drawing board and print some off that would be at right angles so I can better organise them. I mean, it's not the end of the world. It's just an observation. I just wish I did 90-degree joins. That would have been lovely. Now, I have sped this up a little bit, obviously. So, as you can see, I've now fitted the 4 pods that are on the shelf. And what I wanted to do was have a gradual, quite a long tunnel going to the tabletop, as you can see on the left, with the outworld connected. Now, what I needed to do was obviously measure off the side sizes and get it right as how I wanted it. But as always, when I try and connect anything, 1, I can't get my angles right, and you guys can actually see what I'm doing. And 2, ants go everywhere. If you think that's bad, wait till you see it later. I tell you, it was an absolute nightmare, especially with the angles when it comes to the formation of those joins and stuff like that. But anyway, so I connect it all up. I think that was my partner coming in and turning the light on just to be annoying. But yeah, as you can see, I've connected it all up, and this is what I want to do. Now, the reason for that is I wanted a nice long view of the ants taking the leaves and stuff to the nest, and that's what I wanted to achieve here. And I think I kind of pull it out of the bag because I have been watching them since, and you can't see it from here, but it's got a nice gradual well, personally I think it looks good. I've tried to do external ones, but it always fails on me at the moment, so I'm going to keep it contained for now. But as you can see, that this is the look I was hoping to achieve. But don't worry, it's not the end of the video. And like I said before, I really want to get some vines to move them from A to B when they're cutting, so they're out in the open. I can get some really good close-up views and stuff like that. but I just can't get the right container for it. And every time I've tried it at the moment, it's failed because they've got out and they've got escaped everywhere. So like I said, at the moment, keeping them in this container. Obviously, the acrylic's warped because it's so humid in there. That's why there's tape on it as well. But like I said, I love this. I think it looks good still. I can still get good angles when I want to film cutting and things like that. It's just not the open world that one day I will get people. I will have an open plan leaf cutter set up, I swear. So as I'm filming them doing their stuff, what do I see? Wait a minute, what's that? Ah, they're taking fungus back into the outworld. Are you joking me? No, and there's bits of it all over the place, and look what they've started to do. There's absolutely no point in stopping them doing what they want to do now, but yeah. And just to add insult into injury, if you look at the pod that I connected up, there's absolutely nothing in there. And they continue over the next couple of days because I have to leave them to actually make a ball of fungus so I can actually move it easier rather than just trying to do it at this stage where they're just going to chin me off. So I needed to wait for them to have a significant amount of fungus in the outworld before I can think about moving that into the pod so they actually use the new pod rather than just using it as an accessory. So the first thing I need to do is disconnect all of that awesome setup that I was really proud of myself with. It looked really cool. And I've now got to take it all apart because I need to be able to move the fungus into the new pod, which, as you can see, just before I got my big head in the way, my big fat hands in the way, they've absolutely done zero with. They've not moved rubbish in there. They've not moved any fungus in there. They're not even really chilling out in there. They're just chilling out in the tubing. It's just, like I said, it's just frustrating. So, yeah. A couple of ants escaped, so I just popped them in the trash pod. So I have to take this pod out, and then I'm going to have to unscrew the top of it to get the top off, put a barrier on it, so I can then start putting stuff in it. Now, the first thing I need to do is apply a barrier to this. I don't normally apply barrier to the fungus chambers because I don't normally ever go in them once I've connected them because I don't need to. So I have to do that so they don't all get out. And then I need to go around unscrewing the top, as you can see me doing here. And why I need to unscrew the top is because I need the maximum amount of space, because when I've got fat chunky hands, the opening to these pods isn't massive, so I need to take the whole top off so I can put my hands in there and drop the fungus in. And obviously, because there's going to be ants attached to that fungus, that's why I need to put a barrier on it as well so then it will get out. I mean, you could ask why have I left the ants in here. It's because I'm going to be putting loads more ants in there, so there's no point in taking them out for no reason at all. So I just worked around them basically, took the top off, applied a fresh bit barrier because I had to go around that sensor or the temperature sensor thing, and then like I said, apply the barrier so they don't get out, and then start moving the fungus in, which is a pain in itself. And before I mentioned it as well, this is the state of the fungus by the time they actually got round to moving it. As you can see, it's really awkward. It's on the stick. It's intermixed with leaves. It's going to be difficult to move, to say the least. With Captain Hindsight to the rescue, I would have done a time-lapse on this because this clip alone is 17 minutes long. If you want to see the whole thing, let me know and I'll put it as a hidden extra in the video. If you're not that bothered, let me know and I won't bother. Well, hey, just leave a comment, as it were. So I actually only lasted 17 minutes because then I ran out of space on my phone and it turned off and I didn't even realise it. I think I was at this for about an hour or so. So you're not going to get the full-fledged stuff. I will maybe speed it up, I don't know. But the first thing I do is take out the big bits, as you can see what I'm doing here. Picking off the bits of fungus, dropping it in the new pod and getting the workers and putting them in the new pod as well. As you can see, you might ask, why am I doing this? Why is it on my desk? Because these guys aren't the fastest movers in the world and I can quite easily pick them up off the table as I'm dumping them in, so I didn't bother putting them in a container with a barrier and all that malarkeys. And to tell you the truth, I didn't get many escapees, if any. But I'm saying this, you're probably going to see some loads running off now that I didn't even notice. So yeah, it's the way I did it. Not bothered. Quite happy with how I did it and achieved what I needed to do. So I've edited a big chunk out and you can see that I've got quite a significant bit of the fungus now anyway. And I've also got a pile of the leftover leaves that they haven't quite cut yet and just at the bottom of the screen as well. The reason I'm doing that is because I don't have a lot of greenery at the moment this time of year. So I want to save as much as I can. And you will notice the fungus is broken up quite a fair bit and it is difficult to move, but I get most of it anyway. And as you can see, the fungus is now in here. It's quite a big bit of fungus, to be honest, but bearing in mind it is all mushed down at the moment. But don't worry, it doesn't matter if you're doing this and the fungus gets mushed up. They've already started to reconstruct it into the classic fungus honeycomb shape kind of thing, so it's perfectly fine and there's no dramas. And the only thing I need to do now is reapply a barrier on top of the nest just in case I need to get back in there, and reapply the lid using the screws. It's fairly easy assembly and stuff like that, so don't be afraid to take that lid off if you need to, like I did. Now, I've sped this up a little bit, as you can tell by the ants movement and me going actually quickly. This is me attempting to reconnect it. Yet again, bearing in mind this is on a shelf, it is a difficult angle because of the way the pods are and the way I've put this pod. Captain Hindsight to the rescue. Yes, again, I would have put this pod on the outside where the one next to my head right now is. So, one, I can see them building up the fungus. And two, I can get footage of it, of course. And three, it would have been a lot easier to connect. And I tell you what, the amount of editing I had to do, because I keep sniffing because I've got a runny nose, it's unreal. I do apologise on my cold, guys. I say again, sorry. Now, I'm having real difficulties, you can probably grasp right now, of connecting this pod up. The reason for that is, yet again, because like I said, the angles. But secondly, in the transportation of the tubing, because this is new tubing, it got squashed. And because it got squashed, it's got a weird shape, which makes it very difficult for me to try and fit it into the connectors that I've got. And I keep getting ants escaping. And I finally decide, you can't see anything I'm doing here, I'll change the angle. And for once, I've actually put an angle where you can actually see what I'm doing. Now, unfortunately, it's unavoidable, guys. One, you're going to get escapees when you put a connector like this together. And secondly, when you've got an extensive Connolly like this is, yes, I did have a big die-off a little while ago. My own stupidity on that one, I believe. And that's because I bought flowers from a shop and fed it to them. And for the first time I've ever done that, it actually had a bad effect and a load of them died. But that's another story. But because of the shape of it, I'm really struggling, and that wasn't the point I was making. The point I was actually making was that you will catch some and they will die. It's unavoidable. Don't feel guilty. You're not doing it on purpose. You're not being cruel. It just happens. And unfortunately, you're going to see that happen quite a fair bit, because even though this has been sped up, it goes on a while. I'm really struggling to get the tubing to get into this connector. And at the point of where I struggle so much with it that it starts disconnecting elsewhere and I get more getting out, and it became an absolute nightmare. So with this struggle that I was doing, I decided that I needed to take the pod off that's by my head that you've seen earlier, and then so I can actually get a decent angle and connect this up. And after much struggling with it, I do finally connect it, as you can see here, with that fourth outworld that was by my head disconnected. When I reconnect that, it's not a drama, it just slots in because it's the old tubing, it's got the right shape and not been squished. So that wasn't overly a drama. And as you can see, it's all nicely connected. They're leaving the fungus in the new pod, which is good, and they're just moving leaves and stuff away from the outworld like they should be, and not moving trash that I've noticed yet, or any fungus into here. So looks like the job's a good one, guys. Well, that's it for today then, guys. I do hope you enjoyed this video. As always, if you liked it, please hit the like and subscribe so you can follow the story of this Connolly and all my other Connollys. And a big thank you for you guys for sticking around to the end. I also a big thank you to my Patreon supporters and my YouTube supporters. YouTube, you can just click a video below this if you want to join my membership, or if you want to join Patreon, there'll be a link in the description below. And of course, my current members, as you can see the name shooting across the screen now, thank you for your support as well, because without you guys, my video wouldn't be what they are today. But that's it for today then, boys and girls. I do hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you in my next one. That's it from me, bye-bye for now.